Breaking news! The Denver Broncos are making serious moves to overhaul their roster and clear salary cap space ahead of free agency, and fans, this could be huge. With the new league year starting on March 12th and legal tampering beginning on March 10th, the Broncos are positioning themselves to make bold, potentially game-changing acquisitions in the AFC. I'll tell you all the details in a moment, but first make sure you've hit the like button if you've been a Denver Broncos fan for over 20 years. It's great to see fans of all ages here. There are people here who were at the first game. I'd like to see your comments here. If possible, all true Broncos fans comment something like this: "The Miami Dolphins live in my heart." Currently 16th in salary cap space, the Broncos have the financial flexibility to maneuver, but they're not stopping there. There's a real opportunity to clear even more space, potentially as much as $50 million, and put themselves in prime position to land impact players. Now, let's talk about how this is happening. First, we have to acknowledge the role of ownership. The Broncos have the richest owners in the NFL, richer than the second, third, and fourth richest combined. That gives them an edge when it comes to aggressive spending. And if you look at Coach Sean Payton's track record with the Saints, he's never been afraid to push the limits of salary cap gymnastics to build a competitive roster. The key here is making smart decisions with current contracts, and there are three primary moves on the table. First up, safety P.J. Locke. After signing a 2-year deal, Locke didn't deliver the kind of impact the Broncos were hoping for. While he wasn't necessarily a liability, he also wasn't the physical, downhill enforcer that Kareem Jackson was. The Broncos need more from their safeties, and moving on from Locke would free up about $4 million in cap space. It's not a massive number, but every bit helps, especially when you consider what Denver could do with that money, potentially landing a solid depth piece like Zach Bond, who made an impact on special teams in New Orleans. Next, tight end Adam Troutman. The Broncos' tight end room is in desperate need of an upgrade, and let's be honest, Troutman just hasn't been the guy Denver hoped for when they brought him in. He signed a 2-year deal last offseason, but his production has been underwhelming. If Denver really wants to revamp this position, they might be looking at targeting someone like Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland in the draft. If that's the case, moving on from Troutman makes perfect sense. Cutting or trading him would free up another $3 million, and more importantly, open a roster spot for a more dynamic pass-catching threat. But the biggest potential move? Parting ways with offensive lineman Ben Powers. Powers signed a 4-year, $50+ million contract 2 off-seasons ago, and while the offensive line as a whole did a great job protecting Bo Nix, they struggled to open up running lanes. The problem is, for what Powers is being paid, he's arguably the worst value among Denver's starting linemen. If Denver were to designate him as a post-June 1st cut, they could split his dead money over 2 seasons, just like they did with Russell Wilson, and save a whopping $12 million. That's the kind of move that could really open doors in free agency. Put it all together, and these 3 moves could free up a total of $19.2 million in additional cap space. That's a significant chunk of change that could be used to bring in reinforcements at key positions, whether it's a veteran receiver, an impact linebacker, or even additional protection for Bo Nix. And speaking of wide receivers, there's been some buzz around Deebo Samuel. The 49ers star recently appeared on a Bleacher Report podcast and had some interesting things to say about Denver. He mentioned that he loves the way Bo Nix is playing, and he sees the Broncos as a team that's really close to making noise. Now, this doesn't mean Denver is automatically going after Samuel, but if he were to be released by the 49ers, which is a real possibility, he could become a viable target. And if you freed up cap space with these roster moves, suddenly, a Deebo Samuel signing isn't out of the question. Beyond all of this, Denver also has the advantage of rookie contracts working in their favor. First and second round picks have set salary structures, so the Broncos already know exactly how much they need to budget for their draft class. That means whatever extra space they create can be fully dedicated to improving the roster. Now, before we wrap this up, let's not forget about the coaching staff changes. The Broncos just hired former Saints special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi, and this could be a sneaky big move. Rizzi has a history of maximizing special teams play, and he could push for Denver to bring in a guy like Zach Bond, who already worked with him in New Orleans. So, Broncos country, what do you think? Are these the right moves to free up cap space? Should Denver be aggressive in free agency, or should they focus more on building through the draft? And if Deebo Samuel actually hits the open market, should the Broncos go after him? Let me know in the comments, and as always, keep it locked right here for all the latest Broncos updates. Now, let's take this a step further. If the Broncos successfully clear out this additional cap space, what exactly should they do with it? Sean Payton and General Manager George Payton have some big decisions ahead, and this offseason could define Denver's trajectory for years to come. One of the biggest priorities? Finding more playmakers for Bo Nix. Whether or not you believe Nix is the long-term answer at quarterback, the Broncos have committed to developing him, and that means surrounding him with the right pieces. Right now, the wide receiver room is a question mark. Courtland Sutton has been solid, but trade rumors have been swirling around him for months. Jerry Jeudy, meanwhile, has been inconsistent and hasn't fully lived up to his first-round potential. If the Broncos want to maximize Nix's development, they need a legitimate game-changing wide receiver, and that's where a player like Deebo Samuel or another top-tier pass catcher could come into play. Samuel's versatility as both a receiver and a weapon in the run game would be a perfect fit in Payton's offensive system. If Denver does move on from Sutton or Jeudy, there will be a glaring need at the position, and the team has to be proactive in filling that gap. Whether it's through a trade, free agency, or the draft, expect wide receiver to be a top focus this offseason. But that's not the only area that needs attention. The Broncos also have to address the offensive line. As mentioned earlier, moving on from Ben Powers would free up a significant amount of cap space, but that also creates a hole that needs to be filled. Denver can't afford to take a step backward in pass protection, so if Powers is cut, expect the team to target a veteran guard in free agency. Someone like Robert Hunt or Kevin Zeitler could be options, depending on how aggressive they want to be. On the defensive side of the ball, linebacker and safety are two areas where Denver could make moves. P.J. Lock's potential departure means the Broncos will need to add depth at safety, and linebacker remains a position of need. Zach Bond, who has ties to Darren Rizzi from their time in New Orleans, could be a name to watch. He's primarily been a special teams ace, but he's shown flashes when given a chance on defense. If Payton and Rizzi believe in his potential, he could be an under-the-radar addition who brings versatility to the front seven. And let's not forget the defensive line. The Broncos have been solid up front, but they could use another impact pass rusher to take some pressure off the secondary. There are several intriguing options in free agency, and depending on how much cap space they can create, they might be able to make a splash signing here. Now, another factor to consider is the draft. Denver holds a first-round pick and a second-round pick, and those selections will be crucial in shaping the team's future. If they go after a tight end like Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, that could make Adam Trautman expendable, as mentioned earlier. But what about quarterback? While Bo Nix is in place, there's always the possibility that the Broncos take a developmental QB in the mid to late rounds as insurance. The bottom line is this: Denver has options, and they're in a position to be aggressive. They're not in a desperate cap situation like some teams, but they're also not in a position to sit back and do nothing. If they execute these roster moves correctly, they can clear up significant cap space while also improving the roster in key areas. So now it's your turn, Broncos country. What do you think about these potential moves? Do you agree with the idea of moving on from P.J. Lock, Adam Trautman, and Ben Powers to free up cap space? Who do you think the Broncos should target in free agency? And if Deebo Samuel becomes available, should Denver make a push for him? Let me know in the comments, and as always, keep it here for the latest Broncos news, analysis, and updates.